Okay, let's dive right into this explainer, because today we're going to trigger a major paradigm shift in how you handle workplace stress and toxic colleagues. Seriously, if you've ever felt targeted, overwhelmed, or just completely drained by the people you work with, you are in exactly the right place. We're looking at some absolutely fascinating insights from psychiatric analysis that completely flip the script on workplace dynamics. We're stepping away from that traditional, cliché, just talk it out advice. Instead, we're going to look at the cold, hard mechanics of exactly why workplace bullying happens, and more importantly, how you can make yourself literally immune to it.
We're about to unpack some pretty uncomfortable realities about work dynamics and arm you with pragmatic, actionable advice to completely change your daily life. Here's our roadmap for today. First up, the workplace stress trap. Then, we'll look at the matador mindset, confront the brutal truth, break down the 1-2-7 relationship rule, and finally talk about becoming indispensable. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The Workplace Stress Trap. Taking it personally.
So why does modern communication feel just so incredibly stressful right now? Well, the crucial point is that in today's really fragmented communication landscape, people are just way too quick to react emotionally to isolated words. We see this all the time, right? Someone receives a strict instruction from a boss, or maybe a sharp piece of feedback, and instantly they isolate those specific words and claim power harassment. They completely ignore the intention. They don't consider the overall workflow at all. They just react to the immediate sting of the vocabulary. But you have to ask yourself, why is this happening so much more lately?
It all comes down to context, because if you lack the ability to read the context, you're going to view every single harsh piece of feedback as a personal attack, which just multiplies your own anxiety. Think about it. In the age of social media, we are so heavily conditioned to short, one-way bursts of communication. And because of this, both younger employees and older managers are honestly losing the ability to convey and understand nuance. If you just grab onto a tiny fragment of a sentence and ignore the surrounding context, you're going to misunderstand the instruction, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to feel like you're under attack. Recognizing that broader context, that is your absolute first line of defense against workplace anxiety.
That leads us perfectly into Section 2. The matador mindset, handling the bull.
Now, I want you to think of workplace stress as a giant charging bull. You've really got two choices here. You can either use a heavy shield and get absolutely destroyed, or you can use a matador's cape to gracefully let it pass right by you. When a massive, heavy beast charges, most people, especially earnest, hard-working people, they try to block it with a shield. They take the full force of a colleague's bad mood, or unfair criticism, or petty workplace gossip right on the chin. And obviously they get knocked down. Then they get back up, and the bull hits them again. But a matador just holds out a red cape, steps lightly to the side, and lets that massive beast go flying past them into thin air. That is exactly how you have to treat workplace stress. You acknowledge it's charging at you, sure, but you refuse to let it make impact. You just let it slide by.
Because you absolutely must learn to stop holding on to the emotional damage of what your coworkers say. Taking it personally only hurts you. So many of us take that brutal hit from the bull at 2 p.m. and then, worse, we bring the bull home with us. You know the feeling. You're sitting on your couch, maybe having a beer, or just staring angrily at the ceiling fan, and all night long you are replaying that interaction in your head. I can't believe they said that. I hate this place. I hate them. You are literally amplifying and duplicating your own stress. You're doing the bully's job for them. You have to learn to step aside and leave the bull in the ring.
All right, take a deep breath, because it's time for some compassionate bluntness. Section 3. The brutal truth. Why you are targeted.
I'm just going to say it. Workplace relationships do not matter. Let me repeat that. They don't matter, because a company is not a friendship group. We spend an absurd amount of mental energy agonizing over whether our coworkers like us. But think about it. If you quit tomorrow, those relationships essentially evaporate. Your finite, precious human energy should be poured into your family, your partner, your kids, and your real friends, not the random assortment of people you just happen to share an office building with. Once you truly accept that workplace relationships are entirely secondary to the actual work, you free up a massive amount of mental bandwidth.
It is brutal, I know, but bullying and being ignored are very often a nonverbal message from your team that you just aren't pulling your weight. Now, let's be absolutely crystal clear. Bullying is never morally right, period. But we aren't here today to talk about utopian workplace ideals. We're analyzing the gritty reality of human group dynamics. If you're being given the cold shoulder, or if people are treating you harshly, you have to step back and look at the context. It is very rarely because they just randomly decided they hate your personality. Usually, it's a harsh, nonverbal signal from the community.
Here is the reality.
If you are an absolute pro, say you're making 15 million in sales on a 10 million quota, no one is ever going to bully you, completely regardless of your personality. The core issue is usually this. If you're only doing half a person's job, someone else has to pick up your slack. Your mistakes are literally causing unwanted overtime for your coworkers. That frustration breeds deep resentment, and that resentment manifests as coldness or harsh words. A workplace is ultimately about functionality. If you contribute at a remarkably high level, you will be respected, and you will be left in peace.
So how do we stop feeling like a victim at all this? We have to look at the psychological math. Section 4, the 1-to-7 relationship rule.
This comes from a fascinating Jewish psychological rule which proves that in literally any group of 10 people, one person is mathematically guaranteed to dislike you, 2 will actively support you, and 7 simply won't care either way. It's an incredible framework to live by. Think of it as a basic law of nature. If you have 10 coworkers, one of them is going to find a reason to dislike you no matter how perfect or nice you are. Even historical figures who preached nothing but love and peace, like Jesus Christ, faced intense hatred and persecution. You simply cannot escape that 10%. But, and this is the crucial part, you also have 20%, 2 out of 10 people, who naturally like you, who want to support you, and who will gladly teach you. And those remaining 7, they're just focused on their own lives.
Yet most people exhaust literally all their mental energy agonizing over that one hater, instead of leaning into the 2 people who genuinely want to help them grow. It's such a bizarre human quirk, isn't it? People will actually delete their entire social media accounts because of one single negative comment, completely ignoring the thousands of people who might support them. In your workplace, you need to make a conscious, deliberate choice to stop staring at the 10% who are dragging you down. Pivot your attention entirely to that 20%, the senior staff or managers who are actually kind and willing to guide you, because that is exactly where your growth will come from. So, now that we know the brutal truth and the underlying math, how do we actually fix the situation? Let's bring it all together in Section 5, Becoming Indispensable.
Here is your highly actionable roadmap. First, let the haters slide by like a matador. Second, learn rapidly from your supporters. And third, output 1.2 times the work of everyone else. If you want the mistreatment to stop, you have to outgrow it. Go directly to that 20% who support you, humble yourself, and learn how to do your job faster and better. Aim to consistently do 1.2 times the work of a normal employee in the exact same time frame. I promise you, the moment people realize they desperately need you in order to hit their own goals, the bullying just vanishes.
So, the choice is entirely yours. You can let go of the desperate need to be liked, focus relentlessly on mastering your job, and make yourself absolutely indispensable. Or you can spend the next 5 years complaining that your workplace is toxic, taking every harsh word personally, and just letting the bull crush you day after day. You can pick up the Matador's cape right now, realize that work is just work, and dedicate yourself to becoming so unarguably competent that no one can ever look down on you again. You have the psychological tools, you know the math, and you've heard the brutal truth. So, what's your next move going to be?